Hello, and welcome to Goalie Interference, a special edition of Goalie Interference. And Mike McKenna, I am hot. I am hot right now, Mike McKenna.
All right, give me the takes, Ken. I'm ready for it.
Do you know the Golden Knights' record in the past 7 games?
Yeah, it's 2-5, and I don't think that Jim Jimerson of the Jimerson Law Firm approves of that whatsoever. So thanks to Jim for doing this. 2-7, 2-5, 2-5,
2-2-3. 2 wins, 7 games. You have the games on your stick over and over and over again. It's there for you. New Jersey, San Jose, overtime against Dallas, Edmonton on the road. You need like 1 or 2 extra points, and you're there. They've won 2 times in their last 7 games, Mike.
That's not enough. It's not nearly enough. And it's been against competition that largely, especially since the beginning of April, have all been beatable.
And Michael's in the lineup. Stone's in the lineup. Pacioretty's in the lineup. Theodore's in the lineup and playing great. Petrangelo's in the lineup. Martinez is in the lineup. Carlson's in the lineup. Marchessault's in the lineup. Come on. Didonov's in the lineup.
Well, you're seeing what they have. This is it. I mean, Riley are we really going to say Riley Smith is the most important piece of this? Because
you can't have Riley Smith.
He's not. You can't.
You can't,
right?
Because you're over the salary cap. You're not allowed to have Riley Smith. Like, this team today is way over the salary cap. Just in and of itself, they have multiple players that aren't even allowed to be there. And then they play Dylan Coghlan, and he plays this much as me.
Yeah. I mean, that's unbelievable to think about, that Coghlan didn't touch the ice. Like, that's such a, like, I don't know, man. That's unfathomable.
He had as much ice time as Mark Stone had points in last year's series against Montreal, Mike.
So here's the thing. They wouldn't even been able to dress Will Carrier the last 2 games if Robin Leonard hadn't done him a favor.
That's correct.
I mean, literally.
Well, so they say. We still don't understand.
I mean, they could have just straight up said, we're going to file a grievance against you if you don't dress this game. Who knows? I mean, but like
I have spoken to the gentleman over at Puckpedia. He's awesome. He's been on with us before. He still can't figure it out. So we don't really know why, but
yeah,
unbelievable.
Well, listen, this was 2-5. I mean, they got out to a lead.
We got to score first. If we don't score first, it's so hard for us. And we have got to be able to score first. They scored first. They've not scored first in each of the last 6 games. They won 2 of them.
They scored first tonight, and they didn't back it up because they allowed Dallas to come right back into the game. They let Jason Robertson take over as that first line. If you don't check that first line hard, they're going to bite you on Dallas. Yep. And we saw it tonight. I mean, Robertson and Hintz were about all they had. Pavelski at times. Like even look at the 3-on-3 overtime. Honestly, I can't understand why Rick Bowness kept putting out Sagan, Ben, and Klingberg. Like, it's 3-on-3 hockey, man. You need some speed out there. Like, it's not happening with that group. And I get it. Ottinger played well, but you know what? I think Thompson played better than Ottinger. Like, this was especially as the game progressed, there were a decent number of chances each direction, but it wasn't a barn burner by any stretch. Like, this is a game that you needed to create your opportunities. You had to create your opportunities. Yeah. And it's just not there. Like, 5-on-5, where did Vegas' shots come from? Rush, outside. You know, like, hey, man, I'll give credit to the power play. They chucked another one in tonight. It may not have been pretty, but it went in the net, and that's 3 games in a row.
Yep.
But there's only 2 games left in the season, and it's going to take an absolute miracle to make playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs.
So I can't write them off, but
I'm writing them off.
Well, you wrote them off 3 weeks ago.
But I'm writing them off real hard now, Mike.
Yeah,
I'm writing them off. What's going to be? There is a 0% chance they make it through tomorrow.
Tomorrow's going to be a hard game. I mean, you're flying Dallas to Chicago is every bit of a 2.5 hour flight, easily.
Yep.
Back to back. Logan Thompson's leg is bruised as can be from hitting that post at best. And he's going to have to go back to back. Yeah, they have no choice. He's going back to back.
Play Yuri.
And the whole season lies in the balance.
This season doesn't lie in the balance. Like Arizona won a game today. Have they won 2 in a row all season? I'm not sure. They're flying from Minnesota to Dallas. Or maybe they were in Arizona. I think they're actually in Minnesota. Either way, they're flying to Dallas right now. There's no way. And all they need is an overtime loss.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the Golden Knights perspective. That Chicago game is going to be harder than people think. And then going into St. Louis, I mean, unless St. Louis dresses half their club, like, watch out.
Oh, and
that's not even factoring in Dallas. Like I'm saying, like Dallas is playing junk teams. Arizona and Anaheim
at home.
Anaheim couldn't be worse right now.
They need 1 point. 1 point they need.
Yeah,
that's it.
1 point out of 8, basically.
1 out of 8, right? That's exactly right. And you know what? You're right. We should focus on the Golden Knights. If St. Louis dresses half their team, they're probably still better than the Golden Knights right now. What is going on? Like, what is wrong with this team? That's my question.
They're just out of sync, man. Like they haven't played together until recently. Everybody's still kind of hurt. Your best players are still kind of hurt, and it's not working, man. Like you look at, I don't know, dude. I honestly, I'm gonna say this right off the bat. Like you can't have Eichel just floating around the outside of the offensive zone and being a liability defensively if you want to win. Like 5-on-5, man, he's not good defensively. Like the chances go the other direction.
It was his guy.
It was again.
Like, it was his guy that tipped the puck in, and 2 nights ago, it was his decision to go float into the corner and make what he did, and then all of a sudden, there's a play on the back door.
So I'm not going to toss this all at his feet, but bottom line, when you get traded and you're making the money you are, and you're the number 1 center, and you're the focal point, you got to produce. And we're looking at 5 straight games now where that production, and I want to double check on it. He did have an assist. He did have an assist tonight on the power play goal.
Not really sure it's a very good assist. Like he gets it.
It's an assist. It gets it. But like 5-on-5, man.
Not good.
I just
not good. Before this flies off the page there. For Thursday, thank you very much for the super chat. We appreciate it. And there is Wigleth. And we will buy him a nice TREAT. If I say it, I'd have to go get him one right now. So I'm not going to say the word. But thank you very much. We appreciate it. And we appreciate all of the support that we get all the time on this show.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Dallas did a good job of taking away Vegas's rush chances. They managed to limit them at least tonight. They had some.
Yes, multiple.
They had some, but they were able to limit.
I actually think they had more tonight than they had Sunday.
But it's still, it's been less. To me, at least, it seemed like it was less. Maybe if we look back, it wasn't. But it seemed like it was less. And, like, I don't know, man. I thought Dallas just did a good job of sealing lanes. They weren't letting passes through. They knew what Vegas was looking for. And I'm just watching Mark Stone try to filter pass after pass, and he won't shoot, And that's such a bad sign because everybody can sit on that. Like you need him to be able to pull the trigger here and there, and it's not happening. And then you look, I mean, Pacioretty gets a couple shots on goal, but he doesn't look quite the same. I mean, I thought Stevenson was really good. I thought Carrier was really good.
Yep.
I thought Petro had a pretty solid game. Okay. Like I know he's been a lightning rod for people, but I thought he played a solid game.
Theodore was good.
Theodore was moving his feet. I think the chemistry isn't there. I think it's been trying to come together too late. And you've got a team that they knew their back was against the wall, but so did Dallas. Like, did you see Jamie Benn running people out there? That's a captain of that team. Okay. Now, if Jamie Benn's contract wasn't as massive as it was, let's say it's $6.5 million or $6 million, there'd be 31 teams in the league trying to trade for him. And that's kind of the value you have of a player like that, even if it's at his inflated cap hit from what he's worth at this point, is that, man, does he will Dallas into it. Like Dallas was not good to start that game. Or I'm sorry, they were good. And then it flipped over to Vegas. But Dallas can counterpunch. And that's what some of these other teams don't do well. Like Dallas isn't a very skilled team. They're a 1.5 line team, but they hang in games. They play pretty structurally defensively, and they come out on top. They don't have to go up and down the ice with you to try to win. And that's what Vegas has to do. Vegas has to go up and down the ice to win games because it's not going to happen in zone. I mean, look at it. It was a rush goal and it was a power play goal. And Carrier chucked it in off Dona Dallas.
I was going to say it was a rush goal that they didn't even put in themselves.
Yeah. So, I mean, games like that, like Chandler Stevenson, probably the best player on the ice for Vegas tonight.
Yep.
Would you argue that? I mean, I think he was their best. I thought he was awesome. And that's not, I mean, goaltending is a different thing. I thought Thompson was fantastic tonight.
Yes, he was.
Neither of those goals, I have no criticism on either of those goals, how they went in. Robertson changing the angle with a screen. You get a deflection on the second one with a high tip.
Well, he also kind of dipsied McNabb, which
that happened.
Not good. That's not good when you're a goalie, right? What is that? Like, I don't know what's going to happen here. Hey, aren't you supposed to stop him?
Well, it's not good, but he's also scored 40 goals. So we kind of have to take that within context to it.
Can you stop him?
Yeah, you try. You try to take away middle ice.
Use the thing. Poke the thing.
I mean, like, let's look at this. Let's even just look at the shootout. Like, dude, I'm for 7. That was a terrible shootout for both teams. Like, I'm watching Dallas go.
Didn't make a move.
Thinking, will one of you clowns make a move? Because Logan has done, like, Logan actually plays. He plays breakaways and penalty shots very, very similar to how I did. I love to get out of my net to the hash marks almost and back in and shuffle and stay square and try to make players go around me, for the reason being that I knew I wasn't a particularly good first shot goaltender. I needed to get out of my net to be able to do that. Well, they shot it right into him because he was perfect with his positioning in it. And I'm going, make a move. And then Vegas, like, dude, I thought that Wah was going to win it with the old donkey kick. Ottinger was all over it. Marshy, to his credit, went somewhere besides high glove, and it just hits the outside post. But I really thought this game was in Vegas's hands in the shootout. I really believe that.
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody has to do it. And there were too many chances. They had the puck was on their stick time and time and time again, and nobody did it. No one did it.
Yeah. And I thought Thompson was going to win it. He looked, I mean, the first save he made was, I think it was either Robertson or Sagan's, where they cut back to their back, and Thompson was just all over it. And I went, man, he's going to be tough to beat here. And there we were. But what a sloppy overtime even. Like, that was a shit overtime.
Oh, horrible turnover.
Both teams just
turnover after turnover.
Yeah, both teams chucking pucks all over the ice. Massive save by Thompson on Hintz. Like, Rope's, yeah.
That was a great save. We got to get off of just tonight's game because this goes way beyond tonight's game. Before I do that, shout out to JVC. Thank you. I will buy Mike one of those TREATs too. We appreciate it. And then thanks again with Nicolette. All of these super chats, we really appreciate it. It goes a long way. We definitely appreciate all of that. We're going to play the blame game a little bit here. I'm going to give you some symptoms, and I want to know which one of these symptoms is the most important to you. But first, I'm going to tell you that this show and all episodes of Goalie Interference have been brought to you by the Jimerson Law Firm. The Jimerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas's preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes civil, family, and business litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimerson Law Firm. Did you notice that? I looked right at the camera the whole time I did that. I memorized it, Mike. I memorized the whole thing.
You're getting this broadcasting gig down. So
27 episodes, and I finally memorized it. Here's what I want to know from you. I'll give you these 3 symptoms. 1, injuries. 2, chemistry in regarding how the roster was constructed based around said injuries, selling off a lot of players that have been in the mix, buying other players that have been, in and out of the lineup, forcing yourself to have to do some of this injury thing. And C, on ice, underwhelming performance would be the third one. Which of those would you blame the most out of all of it?
Well, I think the easy route is to blame injuries, but then you look 3.5 hours down the road, 4 hours down the road at the LA Kings. that don't have the talent that the Vegas Golden Knights have, and they've had just as many injuries, and they are in the playoffs right now.
Yes, they are. You're welcome.
And
they weren't about 15 minutes ago, but they are now.
I thought LA was going to be a wild card team this year, and they're not. They are third place in the Pacific.
Yes, they are.
And that's directly related to Vegas. I think the magic of Vegas is gone totally.
Can I ask why?
Because that underdog mentality, that pack mentality that was there, like the term misfit doesn't fit this team at all whatsoever. This is a golden boy team now. Like these are privileged players. A lot
mercenaries are the ones I like to call it. I believe it's a mercenary team.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team at this point full of players that have been really good. And I don't mean that for everybody. I mean, it's a different chemistry, man. Like you don't have that same like togetherness or like when we're watching this game, at any point did we feel like, wow, they're coming and they're not going to be denied and they're smiling and they're having fun. Like, I think the seriousness has just completely overtaken this team and they haven't enjoyed themselves all season long. I've seen very few moments this year where I looked and I thought, wow, they're having a blast out there. And you would only see it when they come like roaring from behind. It wasn't the same as you would see through 60 minutes. And I think part of that is due to chemistry. I think part of that is due to the expectations of this team that are very real. And I think it's also due to the fact that they're missing their heartbeat. And that I don't like revisionist history because it's over, but the team's missing their heartbeat. And if the heartbeat was Mark Stone, he was hurt, he was out. The one that's always been there, you're holding in your right hand, Ken. And I just think it's a different dynamic. And the injuries certainly led to a lot of this. But I also think that the system is too predictable. I think teams know what the Vegas Golden Knights are doing, and they know how to beat them. And rush teams don't live. They don't.
Nope.
There hasn't been a team that's won a Stanley Cup off the rush. You got to be able to grind. And you saw it tonight. Dallas doesn't have they do not have the skill of Vegas, and they just won the game. And they've been beating teams, Dallas, consistently this year because they work. Yep. Dude, they do. They work, man. Braddock Fox went headfirst to block a shot in the third.
He did. I thought he was going to eat it right in the mouth.
I thought he was in deep shit.
So did I.
He ended up surviving. But that's a cultural thing, man. Like, you can't just flip it on and off.
All right.
And
so then
there's been too much of that.
Let's get to this question from Dustin. Thanks for the super chat as well, Dustin. Do you think since the New Jersey game, the offseason plan has dramatically changed? And I will add in not just New Jersey, but then also San Jose, and then also going to Dallas and not getting across the finish line in Dallas. Do you think, and I guess the question is going to continue being it's Foley's offseason plan at this point. He has the ultimate power to decide which direction they're going to go. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. We don't have a lot of precedent on the history of what Foley does in this type of situation. We actually have almost none. We have some in his business history, and that is change and bail in many ways. And that's not what I'm trying to say is like that's a business decision to bail, meaning I made my money, now it's time to get out. Kind of where do you see the offseason plan having gone, and how much has this 2 wins in 7 games changed it? Because they have been healthy, and it has in many ways proven that this team just isn't that good right now.
I think this team's impulsive. I think that you look at deficiencies of the club in previous years, and they've gone and addressed it by getting Pietrangelo and getting Eichel and getting Stone and getting Pacioretty and they lost out on Erik Karlsson. God, imagine if they would have picked him up.
John Tavares.
Okay. I mean, go down the list here, man. Like chasing every single thing. And you got to believe in your team at some point. Like Washington took a while to win a cup. St. Louis have been good for a while before they won a cup. Tampa the exact same way. And you're at a stage where it's like, what more can you do? Are you going to trade Robin Leonard for Carey Price? Is that what's going to happen next? Like, I mean, if you're going to call it goaltending, like
it's not goaltending.
It's not, dude. It's not at all, man.
Logan's been
And that's
great.
Logan has, and Logan's going to be in Vegas next year. And Logan, to me, is going to be the starting goalie in Vegas. I don't expect Robin back next year. I think that bridge was not just burned. I think it was nuked.
So which way do you think it goes? Like that one we do have precedent on. And the precedent says they can live together, that they can have sword and back, and that turns into actually, wait a minute, we will coincide for a season. Like, what do you think happens? You think the coach goes? You think the goalie goes? You think both go?
Well, I think that if this team doesn't make playoffs,
they didn't.
Right, not yet, but I think there's three people to me that are fall guys, and I think that you've got Robin Leonard, Pete DeBoer, and Kelly McCrimmon. Those are your three fall guys. Take your pick one.
Why does George skate that?
Being the overseeing person. The only time I've seen somebody like that lose a job was John Davidson in New York. So it could be there as well. But I'm just pointing out these three.
Okay.
I'm not saying that McPhee or McCrimmon would be intrinsically tied to each other because I don't know if that would be the case or not.
They told us they are, but okay.
I believe so. But this team misses playoffs, which sure seems likely. One of those three, minimum, maybe two, will not be back next year. I can pretty much just put that stake in the ground and say that. And I might be wrong. I might eat crow, but that's my gut feeling on this because there's been some irreparable harm.
I love that word. We're killing it with that word.
Thank you. There really has. I mean, today's comments, okay. So I got off track. I need to flip back to Foley. Okay. Like successful business people buy hockey teams and think that they can do the exact same thing. And this isn't just hockey, but they think they can do the exact same thing in pro sports that they did with their businesses. They're wired to be successful. They're used to being successful. They can throw money at things until it's successful. And that doesn't always happen in sports, especially in hockey. And if you're asking me, a good owner hires people to manage and you let them do their job. And there are decisions that have to be made that involve ownership. That happens. You look at big money contracts and other things. But I really think Bill Foley's got to take a step back here, man. And I don't know his daily routine. I don't know how involved, but like just telling from interviews and stuff, I can guarantee he's really involved.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like massively involved. And to me, that's not a winning recipe. You give your GM or your president of hockey ops the title and you let them run with it because they know hockey. They've been around hockey forever. They haven't been running businesses for 40 years. So I think that's step one, step back.
This just popped into my head, and I don't know if this is fair or not. Do you think Carolina's ultimate success or failure in this playoffs is going to affect him in any way? Because that's about as hovery as an owner as you can have, Dundon. And if they go out in, is that not going to give Foley more reason to say, yeah, I can step right in here and I should be able to do this and I will? But
they're so different. Like that guy's so cheap in Carolina and he's able to win because he gets like they get value contracts, they don't overpay, and they data mine the right people to go into those roles, and
he's there, he's involved.
I know, but he's also got the right coach that people want to play for in Rob Brindamore. That's got that team absolutely dialed in and how they played in systems.
I agree.
But here's the thing. I don't think Carolina's going to win the Stanley Cup because I don't think they have the star power to do it. I don't think Sebastian Aho or Tero Teuvovainen or Jakob Slavin is going to win a Stanley Cup for a team. I think you need more star power than that to get past clubs. But what they've done is created a really good team that's going to be really good for a while. I just don't know where that's going to head to. I think they're very different. Like to me, Vegas just wants to spend, like, we'll buy whatever it takes. We'll pay whatever it takes to get whatever we need. Cap be damned. We'll figure it out down the road. And that's going to be a wreck this summer. Like how are you going to fit Nick Waugh in this team next year? You're not, unless you get rid of a bunch of dudes. Like, so how are you going to fill that role? Is Nick Waugh going to be filled in by Jack Dugan, Jake Lecision,
Ivan Moore as well?
None of the above. So I'm worried that this team's going to end up with two lines next year, and that's it.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that was one of the things that from the moment the Eichel trade became somewhat of a possibility. I mean, I sat here on early episodes of Goalie Interference and said, no, no, no. I didn't want that to happen. It's not because I don't think Jack Eichel's a good player. I think Jack Eichel has some issues in his game, but I also think Jack Eichel's probably the best player on the team right now and will continue to be the best player on the team. But the situation that the Golden Knights were in, they could not afford Jack Eichel, literally and figuratively. They just couldn't. And so now here we are in a situation where at the time I understood it to a degree because we had this argument, and Jason's not here tonight and won't be, but I thought this was the year because you could cheat the cap, because you could play the cap game and be $92 million team, 94, whatever it happens to be, and for it to blow up in your face. And in my opinion, and I may be wrong here, but in my opinion, this team, even at 92, even healthy, even gelling, isn't the best team in the league. So no. I have a huge problem with what has been built and how it's been built. And now it has to be stripped down, and it cannot be stripped down in a way that is going to make you better unless you make radical changes to what you're doing and how you go about doing it. And I just am not sure that's going to happen. So I am terrified for what this offseason is going to bring, but I also am very excited in what this offseason is going to bring because the team has to look different next year. They have to.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's for sure. I mean, they're going to have to put their thinking caps on to be able to ice a team here. That's going to be, I mean, they've got enough star power that they should be good. But I legit worry, like, where's Mark Stone's back going to be? I'm really worried about these things. Like, you're dealing with players now that aren't 22. You get to your 30s, man, you start to worry about these things. Pacioretty hasn't played a full season of hockey in how long? Stone hasn't either. I mean, Martinez, you want to extrapolate that out?
I thought Martinez was done for the season with that clip to the face, and he came back.
And Marty hasn't looked the same. No. I mean, even Eichel's been playing hurt. He's got a hurt hand. We saw him block the shot.
Bad games for him. There's been good games for him. But yeah, it's concerning. They're old.
I mean, dude, let's look up and down this list. It's hard to believe it's hard to believe Eichel's only 25, honestly. But like Stone 29, Pacioretty 33, Will Carlson's 29 years old. Marchessault's 31. Dodano's 33, maybe. Who knows? Chandler Stephenson's 28.
Not fair.
Mark's 29. Carrier's 27. Like, there is no influx of young players here that are going to help this club. And then you go to the decor, 32, 34, 26, 31, 29, 25. So, I mean, I know we're going down the road here. Tonight's game was really just a microcosm of what we've seen for a lot of the years. A team that just can't get it together when they need to.
How much does this come into play? This is Nick. I feel like they should win because the paper says so, but I don't see out of anything out of them in the community anymore. Do they even hang out off the ice?
Well, we've been in COVID for 2 years leading up to this one. So that is tough to gauge. This year, even with the first half of the season, man, it was still, remember, they went back into like pretty good lockdown for a lot of things. So I don't think it's fair for us at this point to still like crush the guys on not being out in the community. I think you'll see more of that next year. And I'm not boots on the ground in Vegas, so I can't really say, but this to me, even when I was there, wasn't a particularly community oriented team as much as think. I mean, I've seen
they were the first year.
Yeah. I mean, but then you start to get serious and worry about winning, and then you can't do community appearances, and then you can't do media a day before the game or 2 days before the game. And like, you just get all these ridiculous stipulations that don't make a difference on it at all. So,
but take away the community portion of his question, and let's just take the back. Like, they do not seem like a locker room that is tight. And I know there's chicken and the egg. Winning breeds that, and losing doesn't breed that, and whatever. But like, there's been a lot of turnover. There is a very clear divide that did not exist with this team of rich players and poor players that wasn't there that first season. And I know we're going to have to move on past that first season and say like, that's never happening again. But the lessons from that first season, to see it change so radically and unsuccessfully. And people get on me for calling it unsuccessful. You were 3 wins away from the Stanley Cup final, and you've never been that again. That's unsuccessful to me. You were 3 wins away with a bushel of assets and a ton of cap space, and you've used it all up, and you've burned through all of the assets, and you're farther away missing the playoffs on April 26, 2022. I honestly, and I've said this before, I said it on the Twitter space yesterday, I'm interested to get your point on it. I believe the atmosphere surrounding the team is impossible to play under. I do not believe that you can play your absolute best hockey under this type of atmosphere. And the atmosphere that I'm talking about is, if you do not play your best, we will move you. If you play your best, but someone else on another team is playing slightly better than you and he becomes available, we will move you. Whatever your situation is, you can even not be allowed to move. We will still move you to Anaheim. Like, that's the culture that the team has made, and I think it's bred underperforming from a lot of different people that used to perform at a much higher level. One of them specifically had a shot to win the game and didn't.
And who would that be?
Carlson.
Okay. I think pressure is a real thing. I think fear is a real thing. And I think you want your players to feel empowered that they're going to be supported by their coaching staff and by their franchise. And it's hard for me to think that the players are going to be supported by them now because of their actions moving players out, the fact that there's zero loyalty with this team until they don't need you. If they don't need you, you're gone. Like, it's run like an adult junior team, man. And you can't run an NHL team like a junior team. And like, do we want to take a look at, for instance, how, I mean, like Paul Stastny thought he was going to retire in Vegas, Nate Schmidt, geez. Well, we don't give out no movement contract. We don't give out no trade clauses, no movements, but you have our word. We're not going to move you. But
and they gave out 3 no movement clauses after signing that deal.
Gone the next year to sign a guy to the max term with a full no move clause. Like, this stuff is finally going to start. There's a reason why this team's the most hated team in the league, and it has nothing to do with the players. None. Absolutely nothing to do with the players. There's a reason why Timo Meier went by flexing his muscles and plugging his ears by the bench, telling the media about how he's had players from other teams saying how bad they hope they beat the Golden Knights. And it is not the players, man. It's not. It feels like nothing's truthful when it comes out. Like, you don't. Well, I still don't know why. So, but if you're not truthful to your players, if you're just going to be expendable, at some point people are going to stop wanting to come. And I don't know how long or if that's going to happen because it's Vegas. It's still going to be Vegas.
It's fun to go. Dude, it's fun to go. The atmosphere was awesome. Like, that game against San Jose, it was great. The game against Washington was amazing. Like, and I know you're in the middle of a playoff run, and they're fun players. The atmosphere is cool. They're going to make their money. They're going to get more road fans, but it's more so just like, what is, like, explain to me how you fix the problem of you went from the most lovable story in the history of sports to the evil empire in 4 years.
Well, I think that's pretty easy when your owner tells a star goalie that came to the franchise that led you to the Stanley Cup finals. Even before any of that, you tell him he's going to retire as a Golden Knight. And then you break your promise as a cap hit, as a cap casualty. I'm sorry, man. That's breaking a promise. That's breaking a handshake. Same thing to Nate Schmidt. It's breaking a handshake. And I mean, you talk about honor and integrity, and we're talking about like people dressed up as knights and all the code and everything else, and you break those types of things. That doesn't give you a lot of trust. And then you take the next goalie up, Robin Lehner, you take him, and I understand like today's comments where,
it's the close I have for him.
Okay. Like DeBoer's trying to say in his comments today that he's focused on today's game and the players that are in the lineup. But he said one key word, battle. And he didn't say anything nice about Robin whatsoever. It was basically defer to the team's statement. And I'm worried about the guys that are here to battle with us tonight. And if you're the player, if you're Robin Lehner, that comes across as, wow, he doesn't think I'm going to battle. Like I didn't battle to come back from an injury to help this team
Can,
that I didn't, stress an extra game so we could get another guy under the salary cap.
are
All these
you
things.
are you sure, like, you're all in on that was a purposeful word and that wasn't? Because, like, I would want to hear it multiple times. I'm with you. If that's what he meant, if that's a purposeful word, if he used the word battle for that reason, I'm here with guys that will battle, and there's an underlying, I have one that wouldn't, then yeah, I have a problem with that. I'm always careful because I do live shows. I say stuff time and time again, and I don't carefully pick my words every single time. And I don't want to, go overboard on that because I've done it myself. Where are you? I know that one bugged you. It bugged a lot of people. Like,
yeah, man.
You think that was
I'm an ex-player, dude. If I hear that talked about me, I'm furious.
He's on purpose using the word battle. Like, you think if he would have come into again, he'd say it again?
I think that at best it's tone deaf.
Okay.
Like, massively tone deaf to the extent that somebody that's been a coach in hockey for the better part of almost 30 years now should know better.
It's fair.
If he's not doing it on purpose, man. I'm sorry. I'll fight that to the death. If anybody wants to tell me otherwise, go right ahead. I'm okay for that.
This is fair. DeBoer is a lawyer. Like, he should be able to. Yeah, I agree. That's fair.
Here's how that should have gone.
And
I'll tell you exactly how that should have gone. We put out a statement as a team today that pertains to Robin. He's had some injuries. I wish him all the best. I hope that he comes back as strong as possible. He did the best that he could for us. But tonight, these are the guys we have in our lineup. That's what I'm concerned with. Logan's going to start the game for us, and we're going to go try to win. Boom. Done deal. Couple nice words for a player that's been yours. Simple as that. And I just came up with that on the spot, and I'm not a genius here, man. Like, I've just been around and understand how to treat people in this game. And
you don't even need.
I get fired up about this, man, because it's the ex-player in me thinking, like, you're just tossing people out the window here, man.
Yeah.
Like, so whatever, dude. Like, I kind of reached a point the other day where I'm sick of, like, just tiptoeing around like I did so much in my career and everything. Because honestly, man, if I'm not honest about this, why am I doing it? And I need to just be honest with what I think my opinions are. And
let's go.
I can go do other things if I have to. Like, I don't have to be in media. I don't have to do this stuff. I do it because I like it, and I think I need to be honest about it. And the ex-player in me, that had me burning up. It had me burning up just like the comments after the game against New Jersey, and it had me burning up just like the poll that happened after the first period. I'm done. Thank you.
We'll go to Wes's comment because it's a lot of people are saying Wes has it exactly right. And that says Pete DeBoer is a corporate shill and not a head coach. I think that's a little bit aggressive. I think Pete DeBoer is actually a pretty darn good head coach. I think he's a tactical wizard in some areas. I don't think he's perfect in every area. I do think he fixed some problems at the time. I thought that the actual going from coach A to coach B, they got a different style of coach that was better in certain other areas. And I think that it was helpful to that team in that moment. But since it's happened, there has been some issues, and I was defending Pete DeBoer for a long time there on this season. He's fighting through the injuries. He's getting an age lineup to find a way to keep his team in the mix. He's dealing with a lot of crap here, and he's dealing with a front office that I don't think is easy to coach for, and he's doing a fine job with it at this point. To me, doing this again to Leonard and it being beyond a shadow of a doubt proving that it was not Marc-Andre Fleury, it was not Robin Leonard, it was not Alan Walsh. The goalie drama comes from one man. It is Pete DeBoer, and that is a problem for me. And so you're going to have a situation where he's going to have a goalie that is very clear with him or whatever, or he's going to have to go. And it sucks because I don't know that they're going to get a better coach than him.
He's a coach, dude. He really is. Like, tactically, systematically, he pushes the players. He gets results for the time frame he does. And there's plenty of coaches that are like that. They get a bump for a couple of years. But the management of the goalies in this organization's just been in shambles, man. And it just turns into the biggest distraction ever. And I get it, man. Like, people don't – I get it. If you're Robin, you're walking into a scenario where you can't. If you don't win a Stanley Cup, you're never going to be good enough. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in Boston to Tuukka Rask. Like, that guy was phenomenal. The most consistent goalie in the NHL for a decade. And people in Boston just shit all over that guy because he didn't have a mustache and he didn't run people like Tim Thomas and win a Stanley Cup.
Right.
And that's what Robin was going to run into here. And I've had people come at me on Twitter about this. Oh, we love Panda. We loved him from the moment he got here. He's been, and it's just the vocal minority. And it's like, no, the cheers that happened for Logan when he went into the game, I'm sorry, man. The crowd's turned on Robin.
Man.
And that's a terrible, terrible, terrible feeling for an athlete.
You should have heard it when they announced Logan was starting against San Jose. Yeah. Like, oh man, it wasn't quite Fleury level, but it was aggressive. So let me throw out the scenario that I came up with last time. And that's part of last night. Part of it, to me, I think there needs to be some sort of public admission that we need to change how we're going about our business here, because our players aren't playing to the level that they can. And I don't think it's because of any one individual. I think it's the setup. If they were to go about this, if Foley were to say, I've done this wrong, I have made a mistake, I have screwed up, he fires everyone, literally everyone in the front office and the head coach. He goes through the scouts and lets the new guy do it, fires them all, and he brings in the next GM and does the interviews and says, your first job is to get rid of my 2 goalies and get me Marc-Andre Fleury back. Do you think that solves anything? Because I think it does.
I just don't think it's going to happen.
If they fire all of them, if everybody's gone, George, Kelly, and Pete, and you call Marc-Andre Fleury and say, Mark, this is Bill calling Mark. Flower, I screwed it up. I now see that I screwed it up. I want you to come play for this team for $2 million. And as it turns out, I bet you'll have a job after you retire for $2 million. And this time I ain't breaking my promise. He's coming.
The problem is Marc-Andre doesn't need a job when he's done. So the money doesn't matter. And on principle alone, he's going to want $7 million. It's not happening. You can't look at a person. You can't take a deal from somebody that already told you and broke their promise to you.
But
man.
I don't
you
think,
can't do that on principle.
Marc-Andre Fleury believes that Bill broke the promise. I think Marc-Andre Fleury thinks Bill wanted to keep his promise, but Bill couldn't keep his promise, and he made a mistake ever promising me in the first place. If you were to go down the shit list, I think Bill's at the bottom of it.
He owns the team, dude. Bottom line.
I get that.
You don't trade Marc-Andre Fleury unless it gets rubber stamped by Bill Foley. The buck stops with him, man.
It absolutely did. He quote unquote capitulated. That's what he said, and I believe it.
Well, what kind of
comes back in an instant? In an instant.
So that's.
Would you go?
Not everybody's going to go.
Would you go for that if that was an option? Would you go for that option?
No, because at this stage, it's not the right thing to do either. Like bringing him back isn't the right thing. Like, that ship sailed. It's over. That is done. And
I wouldn't say
they got to move forward, and however they're going to do it.
I wouldn't. And like, I'm well aware. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to do this. I can stand by. I don't even think that would be the best thing that you can do for your future, because I don't think it gets you closer to winning the Stanley Cup. Because you get older in the goalie position, and you're putting a lot of eggs in a basket of a guy who played 15 games. It's nerve-wracking. But I do think that's a public admission of, we screwed this up. It gets your fan base back. It takes a lot of the expectation off of the team, and it puts you in a place where you can actually move forward. And I do 100% believe Marc-Andre Fleury would come back. I have been told by multiple people in contact with him that he wanted to come back this year.
I don't believe it.
Well, I didn't believe it either until it got loud enough that I did more digging, and I did believe it. And the Golden Knights had no interest in it because they don't have any interest in Alan Walsh. And that's fine. Whether we move, let's move on from that. That's fine.
But remember who Alan Walsh works for. Marc-Andre Fleury doesn't work for Alan Walsh. Alan Walsh does what Marc-Andre Fleury wants. And if he doesn't do what he wants, he's gone. That's how it works.
There's a reason why Marc-Andre Fleury's names were in the rumors this summer. This deadline. Nonetheless, I think Fleury might end up living here when he's done, when he retires. And he said he wants to play another year. We'll see. I don't know. Let's move on to this. These are the William Hill Mobile Sports odds numbers in between the second and third period for the last 2 games. Last game, Golden Knights were -900. Sharks +575. The Golden Knights lost in shootout. Today, the Golden Knights were minus 320. Stars plus 250. The Golden Knights lost in shootout. Parlay that 575 and 250 together, and $1 pays you somewhere in the ballpark of 14. Why can this team not find a way to finish off games?
It's a good question. If it was the first 5 minutes of the third period, they'd be better off. I mean, that's when they've had their honey hole of coming back into games. I think, first, Dallas is a pretty desperate team here as well. And I'm not desperate in that their season's on the line, but they realize the ramifications of it. Like, they play with a heightened intensity. This isn't this. This is going to sound great. This isn't the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah.
But you know what? The San Jose Sharks had everybody in the league calling them saying, beat those guys. So you're not going to run up to easy matchups. That's just not how it's going to work. And I mean, is it any different than what we've seen? Like, where's the game-breaking player that can take over, right? And I think that at times, like kind of in the bubble, I thought Shea Theodore was at that precipice.
Oh yeah, and he's did it a bit recently.
And man, he had one look there late in the third on his backhand that kind of flubbed off a stick, and I thought that was it.
Yep.
So I mean, I thought tonight they actually had looks that could have done it.
Who's that on? Is that on the players for not being able to be game breakers? And they have guys that their name should be, you should be a game breaker. Eichel, Pietrangelo, Stone, Pacioretty, Theodore. Is that on the coach? Because they're playing a system that doesn't allow that, and spray and pray is a thing that they like to do. Or is it front office?
How much energy you're going to have when you're running three lines? You're not rolling the same way.
Let's dive into that for a second, because I'm there with you that yes, that does make it a little bit more challenging. You're double shifting players the entire night. I'm not asking for 60 minutes of elite game breaking play. I'm asking for one shift out of 20. I just don't know the difference of having the extra shift in there and playing, Tomas Nosek for 8.5 minutes in a game instead of Coghlan has a goose egg. I just have a hard time kind of saying that's the reason. Like, there are other teams that don't play all their players.
Those teams don't go as far.
Right?
What's that?
Didn't Tampa win the Stanley Cup going 11-7?
Occasionally they did it, but Tampa always would roll through their lines. They're pretty four-line deep club.
Fairly certain they won game 5 in the Cup final, 1-0, playing 11-7.
It can happen, but when you four lines, like when Vegas was at their best, they were rolling four lines, man. And you look at the minutes that they take away, your depth guys. If you have a fourth line that can grind and you put them out against top guys, like if you can have a matchup like that where you don't have to worry about trotting out your best team or your best line against the best line on the other team, man, that helps a lot.
So that's roster construction.
Yeah, some of it. I mean, it's just, right now I don't think Vegas really has. I don't think they have a 1-2 punch even. I think they've spread out a little bit amongst the three lines, and you got Janmark playing up with Eichel and Dadonov.
Well, and I think one of the big problems is you run into a team that's a one-line team, and you're on the road, and they pick the matchups, and they picked Eichel all night long.
Right. For a reason. Yeah,
we got hints out there, and Robertson and Pavelski will take Eichel every single chance they had, and it worked. It worked, and that's where, if you want to be a two-line team, which is what they've done for years here, that's what they've been trying to build, to then decide that, all of a sudden now we need more depth. I've been screaming this for a while. That's why the biggest reason I didn't like the Eichel trade. They need depth. And you're not going to be able to in this offseason find it unless you trade Eichel before his no trade clause kicks in, which they're not going to do. They could.
Well, there's nobody coming from Henderson. And I'm telling you, that's going to be a big problem. Look at the draft picks next year. I just pulled these up a bit ago. Or next pick. Yeah, this year. There's no first round pick. So they've got a second rounder, a third, a fifth, sixth, seventh. They have no fourth, no first round.
Well, they're going to have about a 2% chance to get their first round pick back.
Yeah, exactly. So
The
it
lottery's a
just
real thing. We're gonna have a party.
like Tampa can do this because they've been filtering people through Syracuse like crazy that are fourth, fifth round picks, free agent
Crunch.
signings. What's that?
Crunch.
Yeah, dude. I got one of those unis hanging over here. Um, you don't have that coming out of Henderson. And Peyton Krebs, man, he was right at the edge. Like he was a guy that I think he would have been pretty good.
Okay, turn the
He's gone.
tables back.
So
Turn the tables back. Right now, the NHL allows you to revert the trade. You doing it?
what, the Tuck? I never wanted that trade in the first place for
So
Eichel.
you're in.
Yeah.
You've seen Eichel. You're in.
Yeah.
You're reverting the trade.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
Now that you know you didn't make the playoffs and what he was with your team, yeah, I think you would too. That's crazy.
I didn't in the first place. I didn't like that move in the first place.
I'm with you. I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, like, he was brought in to solve center position in the power play. And I haven't seen responsibility enough to solve the center ice position. And I haven't seen enough on the power play yet for me to believe that that was the magic bullet. The magic bullet on the power play apparently was just going to a high tip.
Wow, real shocker! Can't believe they came up with that idea. Let me try and twist this into a little bit more of a positive. By the way, Carl Neptune, what a picture that is that we have up on the screen at the moment. That is glorious, Carl Neptune. What a photo. Here's what I want to do. Then this comment is in no way positive, and I'm going to shift it into making it positive because I truly do believe it. A rebuild. Are they in line for a complete rebuild, or are they going to be a cup contender next season once again, based on the players that they have? I believe the latter.
I don't think this team will ever be in a rebuild. I don't think they will ever strip it down to the bare bones. I don't think that's in the ethos of this club. I think they will be the Philadelphia Flyers for years, if that's what it comes down to, thinking we've retooled enough to be good, yet we don't have the picks and our picks haven't panned out. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't see a rebuild. I don't see them ever having the guts to just strip it and go for it.
Do you see a radical shift in the organization or in the roster, not necessarily the organization? So like in the roster of saying like, okay, could they go out and trade 5 of the players that are significant players in the top 9 and top 4 and then rebuy a group of players that are just simply different? Do you think that's possible and basically build your team around Eichel, Stone, and Pietrangelo?
It's tough to move that much at one time and to really do that much surgery for it.
And there was a deadline that you could have started, but they chose not.
That wasn't going to happen. But
that was dumb.
I don't know, man. Like even tonight's game, like they looked compared to Dallas, they looked soft to me.
Well, it was just
a bad word to use. But
we talked about it around the deadline. The answer was sell. The answer was utilizing a spot in the calendar that you've never been able to utilize before to make your team better for the future. And they didn't do it. They chose not to do it. And in many ways, they actually chose to do the opposite. They bought salary cap room and tried to pay for it. And Boomerang, thanks to Emmy for this, not a major poster, or I mean, not a trade poster back here, but they didn't do it. And now you're right. It is going to be hard. You can't have an offseason where you trade Leonard and Marchessault and Carlson and White Cloud and McNabb and Dodonov and Pacioretty and bring in 7 other new players. Can't really do it. I don't think there's time. And you don't have a first-round pick.
Nope. And you're going to have to pay for some of those contracts to go away because nobody around the league wants to help this team. We've seen that. We've seen them have to try to give away Marc-Andre Fleury. They couldn't hardly do it.
Does that change at some point? If you make a switch somewhere, does that change?
Well, it definitely can down the road. But right now, I don't see it. Like they have to get when you've run yourself into cap hell and you got to get rid of people, it's going to cost you. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to help. I mean, that was a terrible trade to get rid of Dodonov in terms of what they were what they had to get rid of him to get what 3.25 in cap space.
They're so lucky that didn't go through.
I mean, it might have helped for short term for a couple months, but long term, it's
never going to help. The only way that'll change is if they decide to do it this summer and it's worse. If it's a first round pick and they're bringing back another player like that, it could get worse. I do think that can also change. I think that making some changes around your organization can turn that. Now, as they try to solve the cap trouble that they're currently in, it's not going to change right now because everyone's going to take advantage of you while you're trying to fix it, even if they bring in a new guy. But I think down the road, you're not going to be the most hated team. You're not going to have a trade for Eichel going down and people congratulating, other GMs for it. Like, way to go, you fleeced Vegas. Like I don't think that happened in the Eichel trade, but I don't know. We'll see.
I'm really, this offseason is going to be crazy just to see what happens because they're not going to stand pat. They can't stand pat. And do they just essentially cut dead weight and run it back? Is that what's going to happen? That's not what this team does. They try to improve every year.
Well,
so
they did once. They've done it. They've done that. This summer was basically run it back. They traded Fleury for Dadonov and Brossoit. That's pretty much, we're going to run it back. The year before they went and they got out Pietrangelo, but then the year before that, it was Haula and Gusev and Miller out, and they brought in almost nothing. And then they bought some guys at the deadline. Like, they have had, I wouldn't call it quiet off seasons, but they don't completely go to the, they don't have to blow it up, and they may not.
Yeah. Well, it's just how you're going to get under the cap. So you got to do something there. I mean, that's yes, you are. They're going to really, I think they've really missed. I said it earlier this year, they weren't going to win a cup without Riley Smith. And now I don't think this team was going to win a cup this year anyway, but I think they really miss him. I think they miss his leadership. I think they miss him rounding out the top six.
I think he's resigned, by the way.
You think he will?
I do. That is,
it's going to have to be at a discounted rate.
That is a hint, wink, wink. I think they're re-signing him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
that makes things change, though. Things do change. They lost 2 out of 7, or won 2 out of 7. No, I wish they lost 2 out of 7. No, they won 2 out of 7.
Yeah.
All right, you're falling. Give me some. I know it's like 4 a.m. where you are at the moment. Give me some. Give me some parting words, and then I'll sit here and maybe wax poetic for a few minutes after you leave.
Well, for me, it just, this game tonight was against a team that knows how to beat them fairly recently, and kind of showed it again, Dallas. But when you can't close out games like this, you don't deserve to make playoffs, and that's where we are with this team. And it's disappointing because it's fans out there, man, like this was supposed to be the year, and from the start, I don't believe in karma or anything, but it's like, it's just been a cursed year in so many ways like that with the injuries and not being able to string wins together when the team got close to healthy. And I think if this club could have had a power play that was serviceable all year, they would have had a lot more wins. And I think that wasn't just on, the players in the lineup. I think that structurally they just didn't find a way to make that happen. And it could have helped a ton. So, yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens tomorrow night in Chicago, because I know that's a long flight. That's a lot of travel. And man, Logan played great tonight, but he's going to be tired tomorrow. And sometimes in those situations, you play your best. Watch him go out and pitch a shutout. Like, it could easily happen. Yeah, somebody in the comments is going to go, "Oh, well, she said shutout." And then when he has a shutout, you can look back at me and say, "See, it doesn't matter."
Both of the games are at 5:30, so wheel out your second TV. You're going to need it tomorrow.
Exactly.
Both games are 5:30. To me, we're going to be into the third period, and no matter what the score is in the Vegas game, the season's going to be over. Like, Dallas is not losing in regulation to Arizona and Anaheim. It's not happening. Like, that's
hard to believe. It would be a collapse of the century for that to happen.
It's not happening. I honestly don't even think either of those teams gives a damn. Like, if it's close, they'll sit on it. Like, that's it. All right, everyone's requesting this. This is how we're going to have you go. We're going to need it. I'll kick you out, and then I'll stick around for a little while and take some questions.
Oh, Elizabeth, coming back, trying to win. The cream will rise to the top. Mean Gene, let me tell you something here. We didn't have it this year, but we're going to come back strong next year. I don't know how. And the cream will rise to the top, Mean Gene. Oh, yeah. Snap it to a Slim Jim. Okay, that's the best I can do.
Go to sleep. It's too late.
You guys are the best.
Good stuff.
Sorry,
we
I
appreciate
got a little bit of a vent out. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
everybody. Well,
good
who
stuff.
knows? They're not dead yet, man. They can
They're
still
dead.
do it.
Mike, stop saying that. They're dead.
Hey, I'm an optimist. I try to be.
You can't be that optimistic. Just say
Okay.
it. You'll sleep better. Just say they're dead.
Well, I guarantee this won't be the last goalie interference. We still have at least one more to do. So
it won't.
that's right. So
all right. Good night.
good. Thanks for playing along, everybody.
Good night. All right. I'm here now by myself, and we're gonna switch it over to this. Well, neither of these are great. I like that one better, I guess. You could see some more of the crap behind me. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take questions on the side here. If you have questions, go ahead and fire them away. I'll start answering a few of them. I think I've vented enough. I think it's embarrassing that they lost 2 out of the last 7 games. This team isn't very good. There's no other way to put it. I don't know how else to say it other than that. Who's out first, the player or the front office? I think the coach is the most likely to go first. That's not who I would do first, but I think that's the most likely to go first if that's what's going to happen. I don't have an answer for this. I'm not really sure what to say with that. What is wrong with Stone? His back. He has a back problem, and I don't think it got as much better as it can. And I'm afraid that it's not going to get better over the summer. That is concerning. Best option as a coach, I'll answer this very vaguely. I want someone who's under the age of 50. I want someone new, preferably someone who hasn't been a head coach before, and I want to do this in a way that's a little bit different. I do not think that's the route they're going to go. I've heard some people yapping about maybe it's Bruce Boudreau, maybe they go, Paul Maurice would be interesting. Rick Tockett's out there. I don't think they would go the Tortorella fact. I do think they need more of a player's coach. I think they need that segment between a front office. If you're not going to switch the front office, I think you need a little bit of a shield for your players. And I think you can do that and realize that, okay, maybe that guy that we had in the first place wasn't the proper guy, but there was something to the way that he was doing this that did work and did kind of shield some of our callousness towards how we deal with things and how we feel we need to deal with things, and kind of admit that maybe we need to go that route. I think that's probably better. Go a younger guy, a new guy. What's the most likely scenario that pans out for VGK in 2023? The most likely scenario is that they will get in and then not do all that much when they're there because they haven't made enough of a change to their culture and their organization to make things better. That's what I would argue would be the best case, or not best case. That's the most likely scenario. What contract do you think Riley signs with? From what I understand, he does not want to leave. I can completely understand why that would be the case. He owns a restaurant. He has a great charity that runs right across the street from where I am. He's, had great success in this organization. I think he's been awesome here. The fans like him. It's a great situation for him. I don't see why he would want to leave. I would say he comes back at somewhere in the ballpark of 4. They save maybe $1 million. He gets 3-4 years out of it and does pretty well. Odds that Carlson or Marchessault get traded, I will say if you were to take both of them, I would say it's about 60% that they do not and 40% that they do. I think Carlson is less likely to go than Marchessault, but I don't think it's a huge difference there. But I do think it would be a favorite that that neither of them go. But it's not a massive favorite. Why did Pete DeBoer flat out lie calling Robin Lehner healthy? I don't know. I do not know. I don't understand it. I'm hoping we get more information down the road. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would you go down that road? Why would you try to lie about that? I would imagine maybe there's some sort of cap implication that could potentially have been there, but it does not make a lot of sense to me. Does Robin Lehner get traded? I will guess no. I do not believe Robin Lehner will get traded because I don't believe that they're going to be able to find a taker for him. And there's no reason to trade a $5 million goalie who came off 2 bad injuries and is going to come back. And I think he'll be good next year. So you make that move and you give up a 2nd-round pick to do it, you're going to look really bad. So I would guess no, they do not. Are the GM and president on the hot seat if they aren't fired this season? Absolutely. No doubt in my mind at all. If they do not go, they could very well go by December or January. Maybe it's even Thanksgiving, which is a few days before January, which will be fun because I'm in Qatar. And of course, that's when it would happen. So yeah, no, I think they absolutely. If Pete doesn't go, who from the coaching staff should be gone? I think it's a team. Either get rid of them all or don't. Like, I wouldn't fire any individual on the coaching staff. I don't think that's going to fix anything at all. I think that just ruins someone's life that it doesn't, for no reason. It wouldn't help that. What will happen with the misfit line in the offseason? I don't think they're going to be necessarily the clear on obvious line if they are still all on the team. I think that there is a way that they could potentially find their way back together in some circumstances. But my guess would be next season, when the puck drops on opening day, my guess is the misfit line will not play together. Which player goes first? I guess I'll stand with Dadonov. They tried to trade him once. I think they're going to try to trade him again. That's all it is. Why Eichel for shootouts? That's a good question. I mean, obviously he's 0-2 with the Golden Knights. He must be pretty good at it in his history. I haven't actually looked it up. They do a lot of analytical work on why they go with the players that they go, and they felt pretty comfortable with him in back-to-back nights, despite the fact that, or back-to-back games, despite the fact that he did not score the last time. So at this rate, you will take Jordan Binnington off our hands if we give you a prospect. I don't know. That would be interesting. I don't think they would go down that road just because of that contract. I don't know what you're talking about in an update. Any update on your thoughts with? Oh, any update on my thoughts with Leonard? No, not really. I'm interested in what's going to happen now that the Twitter account's back. I hope that he clears up some of it. If he wants to come on Goalie Interference, he's certainly welcome to do so. If he wants to come on our podcast and chat, he's certainly welcome to do so at any point and take shots at me if he wants to do that. That's fine. If that's what's going to happen, I would love to ask him a whole host of questions, and I'm sure you guys would also like to do it, and I hope we get to do that. I hope we get more truth, whether that comes out through us, through someone else, or through him by himself. Like, I hope we get more truth out of him moving forward, and I think we will over the course of this offseason, and I really think we will if they decide that they're going to pick Pete over Leonard, which I do not believe they're going to do. Do you think they have too much tread on the team? Yeah, I do. But I think that there's a way to kind of fight through that. I think when you have an old team, you will have years where things go wrong and things don't go your way. I do think it is possible to, rekindle that fire even with an old team. I think there is a chance that they can still be as old as they are and have a good shot to win. I don't think they need some crazy influx of youth to be able to win games. Like, they're not that old. Like, I do think that. So we'll see. Does Smith get a new contract? I answered that earlier. It's yes. Where are we finding the cap space? I think it starts with Dadonov. I think Brossoit will probably be gone. They'll probably go down the road of trading someone like a Pacioretty or like a Marchessault or a Carlson or some road that way. I think they're going to have to go down that road in some form or fashion. Let's see. Do we trade Leonard and bring in a vet goalie for cheap? Like I kind of mentioned the Fleury thing. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but no, I would guess that Leonard would be the goalie coming into next year. How do you build chemistry when you can really only get rid of players in the offseason? That is challenging. My answer to that would be you're going to have to do it by kind of being a little bit of a different style of team, like understanding and being a little bit more upfront and honest. And good luck with that happening. Can't see that actually happening. Can anyone in Henderson be not only usable but make an impact next season? I would guess no. I think your best bet is probably Ivan Morozov. I think Brisson is probably at least a year away. I just don't think he's strong enough on the puck yet. And I think there's a possibility that he could come in here and get 10 goals in 25 games. But long term, I don't think it would actually work over the course of a season. And I don't think he would be able to be trustworthy enough no matter who your coach happens to be. I think Morozov is the type of player that could potentially slot in as the Nick Waugh replacement if that's the way that they decide to go, getting rid of Nick Waugh. And he can be kind of the similar type of player as Nick Waugh and then grow as the season goes on. I would take that as being an underdog, though. I just don't think they have a very strong prospect pool at all. I don't think they have a difference maker in the entire prospect pool, and I don't think they're going to get one anytime soon. I think that's all the time I've got. There are a million. Holy crap. There's a lot of million questions on there. I can't believe how many questions there were. I'm running out of breath. Think Turk wins the Jack Adams. I do not. That's it. All right. Thanks again to the Jimerson Law Firm. There were a million more. I'm sorry to those. I guess next time put a super chat and I won't miss it. Thank you to everyone for tuning in throughout the course of the season. The season's not over for us. There will be a Periscope tomorrow, win or lose. When the season is officially over, we will go ahead and do the Periscope tomorrow. Thanks to the Jimerson Law Firm for sponsoring all of Goalie Interference. I believe Goalie Interference will have one more episode, and then we will probably quit for most of the summer. I'm hoping to do it again, but obviously we got to see what Mike's up to. If Mike is in a different place, I truly believe that Mike McKenna is going to have way better jobs than coming on with us every week, and that is because I think he's been fantastic. I have enjoyed every second of the 27 episodes, what will be 28 next week. I've loved every second of it. Thank you so much to Mike for doing this and agreeing to doing this and being as honest as he has been all year. It's been amazing. I'm so happy that has been the case, and I'm pumped that we were able to do this for a season. And it was an interesting season to have him here to kind of give us some of the information. And I hope that, I have him as, no matter what he's doing, somebody that I can comment on or, talk to and text all the time, because he's been a great resource for me just in getting to learn the goalie position a little bit better and learning the game a little bit better and getting a lot more of that locker room dynamic that is very difficult for someone who covers it from the outside looking in to get more information on that. Thanks again to Jimerson Law Firm. Tomorrow, Periscope after the game. Twitter Spaces will probably be coming up over the course of the next week. I'm going to the draft Thursday, so I don't think I'm going to do much all day Thursday, so don't expect much from me on Thursday. Friday, we'll probably do another Periscope. We'll see. It depends on where we're at in that game. If they're not effectively eliminated, we'll probably do it after that game as well, but we'll see. And then podcasts and all sorts of good stuff throughout the entirety of the offseason. So that's it. Good night, everybody. And sorry, this season has kind of sucked. It is what it is. I guess we had to kind of go through one of these at some point, but maybe it'll make some changes. Maybe some things will change and moving forward, and we'll have a fun year next year. And we're always going to cook something up. And oh, by the way, I don't have the answer yet, but we're going to do something for the playoffs. I don't know what exactly it's going to be, but we're going to do some sort of game or contest or something. I just don't know exactly what it is that we'll find a way to kind of put us in a situation where we're competing against each other or competing together or however it happens to work. I don't have the answer yet, but we will figure it out. So stay tuned for that. And then eventually over the summer, we're going to have a new platform that's going to be something that you basically subscribe to. It is coming up. It is something that you do. It's not anything new. It's not anything. Nothing's changing on our site or anything of that sort. It's another avenue that I think is going to be cool for a number of people to take advantage of. It's kind of a way to, in many ways, kind of make sure it all is in one clear stream as opposed to what we do and what we've always done. And we're going to continue doing everything that we've always done, but it's a cool new revenue, or not revenue. I mean, it is that, but it's a cool new service that we're going to use, that we're going to try in the off season. I think we're going to launch it around the draft and then into free agency and throughout the off season. And we'll have that going. And then it'll be real fun, I think, throughout all of next season with all the updates that are going to come through the season and all that. But I'll tell you more about that when we get closer. And that's it. So good night, everybody.